What's going on, guys? TKD with the video, and if I sound a little different here, it's because I just got a new lavalier mic. As you can see, I'm bumping up the quality, you know what I'm saying, trying to be a little bit more professional for you guys. So I'm gonna hopefully, this does come out fine in editing, but just if it doesn't, I'll fix it, don't worry about it. But right now we're gonna be reviewing an album that just came out, and that came out of the blue. Really, it just came out of the blue. Nobody knew it was gonna drop until like a week before, and that is J. Cole's brand new album, For Your Eyez Only. Now, going into this album, I knew that it was gonna be very, very hard for me to review personally, because when it comes to artists that I love, right, whether it's Drake, J. Cole, Kendrick, just having an objective view of those artists are gonna be very, very hard for me personally, because there's a clear bias. Like, I love those three artists, I love a bunch of other ones, what I'm saying, and then just those that I have a strong, history of and a strong attachment to, they come to be pretty hard for me to review and, see from an objective lens, right? But I try my best here. I try my best to look at this objectively, and, there was also another reason why I found this hard to review, and that is listen to it over and over again, and really did hit me, today, like doing my final listen through. I usually do it, at night. It's okay, this is my last time I'm gonna listen to it before I review it, just to make sure I have all my thoughts ready to go. My thoughts, are, true and everything that I feel about it. And I came to a conclusion on this last one, is that this album is very, very serious. It's very serious, it's very personal, and it's an album that I feel, because of those two traits, make it very, very hard to review in a way. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to bash an album that's so personal like this one, and I'm going to go into how it's personal in this video, but just to start off with, those are the two things that I found kind of hard to really give this full review of this album, but I'm gonna do my best. So starting off, right, just how I feel about the album, just straight up, if you were to ask me on the street, Kev, how you feel about J. Cole's album? And what I'll say is that this album is very, very much set apart from the other J. Cole albums, right? But it borrows a lot from 2014. Right, so from 2014, it's towards the later end tracks of that album, we get the more, tonal, real songs, I'd say. Ones like Love Yours. You guys know how I feel about Love Yours. Songs that are, further on in the album, like Apparently. Those songs that are real, those songs that, are not, to be blasted in the club or blasted with your friends. This, album right now that we got, For Your Eyez Only, is filled with that. It is filled with a very, very, cut to the chase, real tone, real message being brought to the listener, and it's something that one would construe. If you're looking at, let's say, a Drake album, right? You're gonna look at it from a different lens, because you're not expecting a very cutthroat, real message from a Drake album. You're gonna come back to that album because it sounds good, right? You are gonna like a Drake album most of the times because it sounds good, right? Because he makes great sounding songs, right? But when we go to this album that we got here, right, you're not really gonna find any tracks that are gonna be blasted in the car with your friends or blasted at the club. There's you can make an argument for maybe one or two of them, I'd say, but overall this album is very, very serious, very real, and you really don't want to be blasting this in a car or in a club, because that's not what the point of this album is, and that's not really a downfall, I'd say, but that's just something to take into consideration if you're going to listen to this and going to purchase this album. Maybe if you're gonna buy it, that don't expect Fire Squad, don't expect Wet Dreams, don't expect any of the other J. Cole bangers we've gotten back in 2014 and even in past times. This is a very, very serious album, you know what I'm saying, and this it has to be said, you know what I'm saying, it's just what it is. And also, that's what I feel that a lot of people are really kind of bashing this album in a way, is that it's, again, not what they expected. We saw this with Childish Gambino. Even I critiqued Gambino's album for being not what I expected, and I feel like a lot of this is also in relation, that you could say, to Views, right? I feel like Views in a lot of ways was expected to be a banger album, another mixtape, like If You're In This Is Too Late, and they got a more serious album with Views, and people were caught off by that and didn't like it because it wasn't what they're expecting, right? So I feel like a lot of the same things that happened in the past with these few albums that I listed are happening again with For Your Eyez Only. I feel like a lot of people are just kind of brushing it off because it sounds too serious, too real, and they don't want to listen to that. They want they want a club banger, they want a radio hit, they want songs that they can blast on the radio, etc., all that good stuff. But it's just that people are not getting what they expected with this album. And for me, I love this album, right? I'm just gonna say it straight up. I'm just put it out there. you can take my bias into consideration. If you guys see me on Twitter, you guys know that I'm a big J. Cole fan. If you guys are, really fans of the channel, you guys know how I feel about J. Cole, right? But I'm looking at it in an objective standpoint, right? I can see its flaws. And I feel like the biggest blurring flaw here is really the tone of the album, right? And the tone of the album is very serious, and that is not its fault. Its fault is that with 2014, J. Cole had songs that had a serious message, a serious tone, and a serious part to the entire message of the album, right? And they were club bangers. Some of them were, right? Like I brought up before, Fire Squad, Wet Dreams, like, those really, really good songs that I'm probably even forgetting to mention some of them, because I know I am. I just am forgetting to mention them. But for the most part, in 2014, there were a bunch of songs that were a part of the overall message of 2014. At the same time, they sounded good. They were club bangers, all the good stuff, and they're fun to listen to. In this album, we get that we get a very, very serious message that I'm going to talk about later. But not a lot of the songs are songs that are really fun to listen to, if you will. They're interesting to listen to. I'd say, like, I very much like listening to this album, right? Like, I'm a big fan, right? But it's not really something that is going to make you feel hype or whatever. It's just not built for that, right? And so that's the main thing here, is that J. Cole at one time in 2014 made songs that were serious, and you could also blast on the radio and all that good stuff. But when we come to For Your Eyez Only, we get here in this album, it's a bunch of serious songs, which is not really a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just a different way of taking a serious tone. And this album is short. It's not long. It's about 10 tracks long. I think it exactly is 10 tracks, and it only runs you maybe around 40 minutes. I forgot exactly how long the album runs for, but it's a very, very pretty nice, sizable, short album. It's not as long as 2014, but at the same time, it has a lot. It has a lot in it. I'd say it has a lot. It takes you on a road, and that's what I feel like J. Cole is very good at. He's very good at taking his listeners and taking them on a journey, taking them through a story, right? And this album exactly what it is. It's a story. Now, how it's explained in the album, in the final track, right? It's explained that this album was written by one of J. Cole's friends, right? And this album was written and was supposed to be locked away, never to be heard of again. He died, right? And this was supposed to be only heard from his daughter, because I don't know if it was because of some other thing than the way he explained the album, but overall, this album was supposed to be heard only from the daughter of J. Cole's friend, right? And it has a very, very powerful message. And basically, the last track is really the highlight of the entire album, I'd say, in my opinion, because the last track is 8 minutes long, and it's very, very real, very intense, very much narrative driven, and it's a very, very good outro, right? And it's basically him, just in case he died, right? He would have this song or have this whole album released and listened to by his daughter to explain all the things that he wanted to explain to her, but probably never got the chance to, because he got met with death. And it's very, very strange. It's very, very strange, because in that same track, J. Cole was talking about how, like, he had a conversation with his friend at one point before, days before he was going to die, and the friend was saying that, hey, listen, like, I'm probably going to die. I know, I forgot what the exact quote was, but he says in the song that, like, I feel like my days are borrowed. Like, at some point, my days are going to have to be returned. And it's very, very dark. It's very daunting. It's a very, very real song that is actually, it just has a huge effect on you. You know what I'm saying? This is not something to blow over. Like, it's very, very real, very raw. And this is one of the great things about this album. Like, just from a personal standpoint, I feel like, at the beginning of the album, like, it's kind of weak. It's kind of here and there. But as soon as you get, later into the album, it does overall get better and better and better as it goes on. But mainly what I'm talking about here is the first two tracks, 2 and 3. Tracks 2 and 3. It's Immortal and the track with the Bryson Tiller beat. I forgot exactly what it's called. You guys send me on the comments below. But tracks 2 and 3 didn't really do it for me. I kind of like Immortal, as I went through on the week and listened to it. But Immortal was alright, and I definitely don't like Deja Vu. That's called Deja Vu. Deja Vu, not really a big fan of that. But my personal favorite in the album is Change. I love that song. That song is beautiful. And it does tie a lot to the police brutality that we see a lot here in modern day, and all this, all the drama with Black Lives Matter, and all the cop killings, whatever, all that good stuff. I mean, not good stuff, but all that stuff, is referred to in Change. So overall, what I'll say about this album is that this album is very, very real. It's very raw, And I want everyone to kind of go into this album. If you haven't heard it, if you're listening for the first time, go into it with a mind that it is not gonna be a club banger, right? It's not gonna be, you know, flashy J. Cole. It's not that, right? And I feel like a lot of people, you know, are gonna go into this expecting that, and you know, they're gonna be let down and probably gonna say that's bad and trash it because it's not what they wanted. I just want everyone to just kind of like suspend their perception of a J. Cole track and listen to this and just love it. And that was my review of For Your Eyez Only by J. Cole. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, share, all the goes down below. I appreciate all of you guys give me. Also, let me know, guys, in the comments, what you guys your favorite tracks. You guys like it? You guys hate it? What are your top 3 tracks down below from this album? Let me know down below in the comments. Thanks for watching, and as always, I got you.